What is up, everybody? It is good to get back in the studio today to check out a new oscillator that we just haven't gotten around to checking out. And it's important to remember to search for things the right way when you're looking up certain instruments inside of Reaktor, but we'll get to that in just a second. We are looking at a new oscillator type inside of Reaktor blocks, looking through the various blocks that are inside of the Toybox Nano Pack V2 library. And we are going to go into Reaktor, just click inside of the interface. I'm going to hit my enter key, and I'm just going to search up Nano Os, OSC. And it's important to search OSC and not spell out the entire word oscillator, because as you can see, that dramatically reduces the number of results that you're going to bump into. But if you search OSC, you'll see all of the actual oscillators, as well as a number of utilities that have OSC in the name. So these will be various oscillator controls and various other types of things that we can dig into later as well. But today, what we are looking at is something really cool called the instrument tables. And this is a really unique, really neat instrument. As you can see, it's already doing some morphing and shaking. And you can drag the center of the display to morph between the four shapes. And it also says use the left and right areas of the display to click through the four shapes. And let's get into it. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to mix this into the VCA and into the mixer. And as you can see, I've already got a spot for it. So I've got two oscillators in here that I've been toying around with pretty recently. And I'm going to go ahead and keep these in here and turn this into a 3-oscillator synthesizer now. And so I've got a new place for it, as you can see, right in front of this scope. So I'm just going to patch this in real quick. As you can see in that scope, it's already doing all sorts of moving and shaking. I'm going to go ahead and patch in a pitch cable to take care of the pitch. And I'm also going to go ahead and patch this into input number 3 on the VCA, which is going to now allow us to hear it. So I'm going to turn the other oscillators down. Here's oscillator 1 and 2. And now here's only oscillator number 3. Holy smokes! Really cool sounding. I mean, just right out of the box. Really super cool. Now let's dig into all of the really unique stuff that's happening. So I'm just going to hide the wires just for a second. We're going to dig into these controls. So here's a pitch control, obviously. You saw what we were doing with some of the morphing and the shaping. You can drag into this interface and actually do some of that morphing yourself. As you can see, when I do that, this control here, which is a position control, starts to also adjust. So you can just grab that control yourself and do some of this adjusting on your own as well, which is really cool. This scan module, this scan control, right here scans through the entire wavetable. So as you can see, it can scan through really fast or really slow. I think right up the middle sounds normally pretty cool. And there's default positions for these controls, but obviously I think that started off right about there, and then that's starting right up the middle or so. And then let's just turn the scan off for a second, and let's just hear. Okay, so selects the wavetable. The 7 built-in tables are digital, a collection of waveforms from digital synths; analog, a collection of waveforms sourced from analog synths; FM, spectral, complex waveforms with lots of harmonics; synths, wavetables from classic synth sounds; real, drums, a collection of waveforms sourced from drum hits. So there's just all sorts of different types of sounds loaded into this wavetable. And you can select from, let's just see how high up this goes. from 128 different sound sources, it sounds like. So, and as you can hear when I start changing that setting, not only does the scope adjust right over here, but, you know, the sound of it obviously really dramatically changes. So that's why it sounds super cool when you start scanning through it. So let's turn this down a little bit. We'll tuck it back and we'll add a little sine to it, which is oscillator number 1. There's obviously going to be some phasing and different things happening, of course, because at the very end, we're going, if we turn these wires back on, out of the mixer and then into our, you know, perfect guitar pedal, or into our saturation stage, which is right here at the very end before the filter. And I just moved the filter over here so that I could literally filter it all back if I wanted to. But right here at the saturation stage, there's obviously all sorts of different things that can happen. And so not only do we have some super cool oscillators here, but we also have this really cool saturation stage at the very end, a filter at the very end, and also going into a plate right at the very end. Just a touch of plate reverb. And part of it is knowing what all these knobs do. Part of it is just turning the knobs until you hear something that you like, too. You know what I mean? That's part of what it should be about as well. And of course, even though it's going to scan, you know, changing the starting point that it starts from is still going to dramatically change the sound because it's scanning the wavetable. And interestingly enough, when this position is turned down, that's when the scan seems to work pretty dramatically. And as you can hear, I'm just getting lost in some of the subtleties of this instrument. You can, of course, make it sound really off the wall crazy and noisy. You can, of course, add some shapers and then some filtering and then some reverb, and you know what I mean? You can add a mixture of things together to really also get some really subtle sounding things as well that may sit a little bit deeper in the mix or in the sonic, you know, consciousness. So really, really cool sounding stuff overall. I'm really digging it, and ultimately, I just can't wait to use this for composing. I've got a few different songs I'm working on. You know, that I think some of these sounds would just sound great within. So, really, really cool stuff. A wavetable oscillator with built-in wavetables sampled from many different instruments. And that is the instrument tables block. Can't wait to check it out even more. Until next time.